I had a hard time this weekend because my daughter was leaving. She left, moved out.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's hard.
I guess.
Empty nest again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta admit, I had a pretty crappy day yesterday. I was a little down, trying to get myself back
Mm,
up because I had her and the dog for since February. So, March, April, May, 3, 4 months. And so it's like back to
yeah.
back to just me and the kitties all day.
Yeah. I
So
guess it's a bittersweet one because, on one hand, at least she's gonna be in her own space and everything, which is it's a good move. But then obviously less time together and yeah.
mhm.
And plus, I mean, you really you develop the bond is so close when you're staying together and living together. And then when you lose that, then it's like if there's like it's like empty. It feels empty.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Although for her, it probably doesn't. For her, she's off, she starts a new job tomorrow and
Hmm.
she's living in a new place. And so she's pretty excited. And you know what? If I had a 24-year-old living with me for, 25 years old, 20, I'd be like,
Hmm.
I didn't do my job well. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
for
hey,
the parents out there, that's part of it. And it goes so fast when they're in your nest and then they're gone. And I mean, you get to
yeah,
see them, but it's just not the same, like you said, about living together. So,
yeah. Did your daughter ever like she went to school and everything, like university and stuff like
yeah,
that?
she graduated
College?
from college last year, and then
Okay.
she took the summer off to just play because she still had rent
Mhm.
or her room there. And so then we're in Washington State, so then we have a place in California, so she went down there and lived down there for 3 months and then realized she's not a California girl. And then she went and lived with my brother in California for a month. And then her and I drove up the coast together in a car that was where we could barely fit with all her stuff. And she is a Pacific Northwest girl all the way. So she's happy to be back up here in the mountains and the trees and the weather.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been a journey. And
Yeah.
now she's starting the next season of life, which is the way it's supposed to be. So
Hmm. Exactly. Because yeah, I mean, obviously in that case, because she went to college, was it like nearby or was it far away?
yeah, so it was about an hour and a half, so it's not too bad. Hour and a half drive.
Okay. Would she but she wouldn't commute, like she had her own place.
Oh yeah, yeah. She lived on campus for a while for the first year, and then she in houses with a bunch of girls the rest of the time. Yeah,
So then it was like empty nester and then she came back and then empty nester again now. So it's like
yeah,
a roller coaster. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's just what you saying. It's a roller coaster ride. When you're a parent, it is a freaking roller coaster ride from the beginning to the end. And I think during those
Yeah.
teen years is when it's the worst, when you're going down up the highest ones and coming down, and it's like, yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we get too far ahead, do you want to just introduce the podcast?
Sure. Hi, I am Susan, and this is Rehan, and we are doing Teen Talks from the perspective of a little over teenager and a lot older mom and teacher. So we're excited to be here to bring some value, hopefully. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah. No, just that, our conversations revolve around the dynamic between teenagers and parents and how that whole dynamic works and the different challenges that both teenagers and the parents face when it comes to that relationship and things that we've experienced that have helped us in our own respective lives and things that we've also learned from other people out there. And we're talking about like, the best out there when it comes to personal development and relationship and life coaches and things like that. So just Tony Robbins and, all these amazing people. And yeah, we just want to share whatever we can with you so that you can learn and hopefully take something from it and apply it to your own life.
Yeah,
That's it.
for sure. For both
Yeah.
teens and parents.
Exactly. So you were talking about, we were just talking about how, your daughter has just left, and the whole roller coaster ride, that parents, I guess, go through when it comes to their kids because they're at home for such a long time, then all of a sudden they go off to university or to college, or they go straight into the workforce or whatever that is, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And sometimes they come back and then they leave again, and it's
Yep.
like this whole like up and down. Um, and obviously this is coming from, I think, you and I, you have a very close bond with your kids. I have a very close bond with my parents.
Hmm.
Um, and so I kind of know what it also feels like to, leave and then come back and then leave and then come back, and how those emotions just change over time.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, I wonder how it is for, there are certain family situations where the connection is not necessarily that close. The relationships aren't as
Right.
strong,
Hmm.
and how that changes. It obviously doesn't mean that there's no love there. Obviously there's love, but I'm curious, like, because I don't know what it's like to not, have that sort of strong bond with my family, but I've heard a lot of stories of my friends, who are not as close to their parents, and when they go off, they're like, it's fine, I'm more than happy to be away. And even some
Exactly.
parents are like, well, you know what, that's life, go on, move on, bye bye,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Hmm.
So, different situations. I don't know if you've had any experience, maybe like talking to other parents who might be in that situation, or even some of the kids that you work with, if you know a bit about their family situations and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's another perspective that I'm sure many people are living and going through right now, that we might want to talk about.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, yeah, I've had students, being a teacher, I've also had students that don't have a good relationship with their parents. And it, to me, it all comes down to building a relationship. And, you know, and it's never too late. I mean, obviously,
Mm,
it's best to have it from the beginning, but I don't think that it's ever too late to go ahead and try. And so,
yeah.
from a teen's perspective, probably most of those teens are very aloof and they probably are not wanting to hang out at dinner and, those kinds of things. And maybe they feel like their parent doesn't really care about them that much because maybe they're working all the time, or they've got other things going on. And sometimes I think, especially I found this out as my kids are getting older now, I think a lot of kids don't realize that their parents actually have a life.
Mm,
That things are going on that aren't always easy. And so, with them not realizing that, it can be, they probably feel like their parent doesn't care about them, but I'm sure that's not the case. And then for the parent, if you feel like your teen is not connecting with you and um, being there, like constantly gone or whatever, then it's time for you to step up. You're the parent. And if you want a relationship with your child, which I would hope you would want, it's time to let go of the ego and let them know that you're a person and maybe you're really busy, but explain it and then sit down and talk to them and tell them that you're there, and actually set a time to just say, hey, I just want to listen to what's going on. And I think you
yeah.
said this before, Rehan, is you mentioned like showing interest in what they're interested in, right?
Yeah.
As the adult, we should be a little more mature and less and more able to put aside all that stuff that makes us feel good and big and, like the authority. Let that go and come down and say, I'm just here and you're
Mm,
interested in this. Tell me more. Or I see your passion in this area. I'm going to support it. What do you need me to do to help you with it?
yeah.
Um, I just don't think it's too late to do that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And the one of the big things that I just took away from that was the whole idea and the understanding that parents do have a life outside of just the family and the kids.
Mhm. And
Um,
sometimes it's tough.
and sometimes it's tough. Like there's a lot going on. Now I'm at a point, for example, and I'm so happy that and blessed that I have this relationship with my parents where, you know, they'll open up to me and they'll tell me like what's going on in life, in their lives, like what's
Mhm.
going on in their heads and the struggles and challenges that they're facing, because that also helps me understand their situation a lot more. And also, in many cases, sometimes I'm even able to help them in some way, which is a huge blessing for me because I know like they've helped me a lot. And if I'm able to give back just a little sliver of that, it means a lot to me. But I have a question for you, Susan, and I don't know if you're going to be
Mhm.
able to answer it, but do you kind of recall how old you were when you started to understand the whole notion that your parents, for example, like they had a life before, that is kind of outside of just you? Um,
Yeah, it's that's interesting. I do actually have a story of when that occurred to me. Uh, my mom, my mom had cancer. She died very young. She died at 48, and I was just about to turn 21 when she died. And before that, before she got really sick, I was in college. She went on a very wonderfully explorative trip with her twin sister to Spain. And apparently she just went like, screw it, I'm sick. I don't care. I'm just do what I want to do. And she had the best time. And my mom wasn't like that before, but she just
mhm,
let it all go. And then she
yeah,
brought back this figurine from Spain, or maybe it was Portugal. She went there too. And it was like a woman. I don't know. And I said to my aunt, this was later after my mom died, and we were cleaning things out. And I said, oh, yeah, she brought this back from Portugal. And um, I knew she'd picked it because she was thinking of me. And my aunt looked at me and went, no, she wasn't. I went, what? Nope, she didn't buy that because she was thinking of you. She bought it because she loved it and it meant something to her in an entirely different way. And I'm like, what? I wasn't a center of her world? What do you mean? And
mhm,
that's when I first went, oh my gosh. I mean, I knew she had she had a life, but I just didn't realize that I wasn't always the center of it.
yeah,
And that to me was like interesting. Kind of hurt a little, I'm not gonna lie. But
yeah,
um, yeah, so that's when I started to realize that she had a lot going on. And I didn't.
yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, by the way, because I know that that must be a really deep part of your story as well, like who you are and everything as well. Like even the fact that she had cancer and she passed away pretty young. Um,
I didn't think it was young at
I
the time. That's so funny. I didn't
Yeah,
think 48 was young. I thought she was old. I was devastated, but I really didn't think she was young. And she
yeah,
was, because I'm
yeah,
older than that now.
yeah. And I just wanted to I asked that question because I really wanted to almost have an idea of, you know, I don't know if this is true or not, because obviously this is from my perspective as a not parent. I am not a parent. I literally was a teenager not so long ago. So, but I almost, from just my experience growing up and what I see around me, is that I've had this feeling that some parents almost have an expectation when it comes to the kids, for the kids to understand that whole concept, to understand that, you know, they're the parents are living a life that is not always revolving around the kids.
Mhm.
And I think that that comes at some point in life, but I think it's hard for that to come early on
Yeah.
because the kids are still like, teenagers are in this phase of life where these are their formative years. They're discovering so much about who they are.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean that once they're done being teenagers, like that no longer happens. That happens throughout life, but
Yes.
teenage years are so formative, right? They are very,
Well,
very
it's
formative.
physical too. I mean, it's stuff actually going on in there. It's not just
Exactly.
the time of life. There is major changes going on in the brain and the body.
Exactly. Like everything, and we'll say like, yeah, hormones are, developing. There's a energy is shifting around you, your body, you're growing as a person. You're you're transitioning almost from being a child to becoming an adult. Like that's essentially what it is. And that takes time.
Mhm,
Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less time, but there will come a time, and I think it's inevitable just through experience or whatever it is, where they will understand that, you know, they're not the center of everything when it comes to their parents' life.
right.
But I almost feel like as parents, and maybe this is not my place to say it, but it's almost like parents for some time, at least until, the teens, like they go off and they start living on their own and doing their thing, parents almost have to suck it up and just take it, just just take it and just give as much as they can to help their teen, and
Mhm,
understand that, maybe they're not going to get it right away. Maybe they're
yeah,
not going to understand this right away, but one day they will. Like one
right.
day they will look back and they'll be grateful. They'll appreciate it. One day they will look back and understand,
Yeah.
you know? And maybe it'll be earlier than most, maybe it'll be later, but
Mhm,
it will happen,
mhm, yeah.
right?
And I think the key to all of it is that you're basically two people. You're not the same. And I think oftentimes
Yeah.
parents think, oh, well, this child is made for me. So that means
Yeah.
this child is going to be just like me. And
Yeah.
it's so not true. And we all have separate brains. We can't jump inside each other's head. Even our little kids, we don't know what's going on with their really inside, and we try to figure it
Mm,
out. But as we get older and we shut down more, if we shut down more, then that's where the communication stops. So I think as parents, I mean, obviously you can't tell your kid if there's something going on in your life that's going to harm them,
mm,
but to let them know when you're struggling, let them know when something hurts, let them know
yeah.
when something's hard, and talk about it, and let them know that that happens to them too, and then they can come and tell you. So being open and honest and talking about it. I mean, even more now that my kids are older, I wished I would have done it even more than I did,
Mm,
because they would have been more open to me.
yeah.
I find out things now that they go, I cringe because they go, oh my gosh, I didn't know you did that. Or, oh,
Yeah.
how come I didn't find out about that?
Mm,
you know?
yeah. The communication is everything, right?
Mhm,
Communication is everything. And we've touched on this in previous episodes, but the whole idea of developing a connection also means like being vulnerable and being honest and meeting them, where they're at.
mhm,
And that comes with some form of opening up where you're almost you're opening up something that's been locked away for a while, and you're sharing it with them so that they also understand that you're human, that you're
yes.
also living,
What?
you're
What?
living your own life.
We're not
Yeah.
human. Come on, we're there just to serve and give, and that's it. Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that will help them understand sooner than
Yeah.
later, right?
And I think it's better
Because
sooner than later.
yeah, because then they'll see like, oh, okay, mom or dad or whoever also goes through challenges.
Mhm.
They're also facing their own stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe, there's a teenager out there who has, suffers from social anxiety, right? Has a really hard time, when it comes to meeting new people or even interacting with people at school or whatever it is. And then
Very
maybe
common.
and then maybe their parent has the exact same thing or went through the exact same thing in some way,
Mhm.
and they're able to find common ground, and all it takes is just for one moment to open up to them and let them know, like, they're not alone,
Yeah.
and you never know,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's a really it's an important thing. The communication, I think, is key in
Yeah.
anything, but here especially, communication is so important.
So going back to that, what you were talking about, that also made me think of another story. And it's not about
Yeah.
me, it's about my brother. My brother was 2 years younger than me, is 2 years younger than me. And my mom we didn't know that she had cancer until it got really bad because
Mhm.
she didn't want us to know. And my parents had gotten a divorce when I was 14. So my brother was 12. And then we ended up moving to another house. And my mom had to work a lot because I mean she needed to, work now. I mean, she was working
Yeah.
before, but really working. So she was trying to do a business and she was trying to do all these things. And um and we didn't know she had cancer. And she was dating, it was all these things. And so when I was 19, I moved out of the house and I got my own place. So my brother was there and he was
Mhm.
17. And he felt, because they didn't communicate well at all, that he was alone all the time and he resented her. And he still holds a grudge today.
Mm.
Still. Um, he resented the fact that she never was there for him and he had to make his own dinner and he had to do all this stuff. But I don't think he realized, and fortunately she died, so they were never able to resolve this, and that's why it still hurts him today.
Yeah.
They never talked. She never
Mm.
shared her struggles of what she was going through, and if they would have done that and created a plan or something, it he wouldn't be feeling like this now, because he
Yeah.
still blames some things on my mom because
Yeah.
she wasn't there for me.
Yeah.
So you're getting deep here, but things happen,
Yeah.
and if we're not honest with our kids about it, they're going to think they're rejected or they're going to think you don't care. So
Yeah.
be open and honest and be
Yeah.
vulnerable.
That's so true. That's so true. I've also experienced cases like, obviously I've spoken about my family, but when I left to move to France, after a few years staying with my grandmother here, I then moved in with a host family. And then from the host family, I had a girlfriend at the time. So my girlfriend's family, her mom actually told me to move in with them. That way I was with someone. And so I've, and I'm so grateful for that, by the way. And,
Yeah.
they're amazing people. But I was able to experience these different dynamics within families and
Mhm.
within different people, different cultures, and how these things worked. And it was really interesting to me because, like, for example, in the host family, the mother of the host family, she is bipolar,
Okay.
and
That's another whole thing. Yeah.
that's another whole thing. But I spoke to the youngest son, who's also my friend. He's opened up to me about the struggles of, growing up with a mother who is bipolar and still, like you were saying, kind of with your brother, but having that resentment because she wasn't always able to be there for him,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
She wasn't always present because she was going through her own thing, right?
Right.
And this is not something that she can necessarily control. Like this is it's a disease that is, it's not like you don't choose to have it,
No,
right?
no, and
You
you
have
can't.
it and you have to deal with it.
Hmm.
um so anyways, that got me thinking about that. And then also, my ex-girlfriend has a brother, and him and I were really close, so we talk a lot. He's one of those kids who doesn't really like school, will still put in the work, but doesn't really like school, loves gaming, loves playing video, like streaming and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So we'd have a lot of conversations because he knew that I was a very ambitious person who didn't want to necessarily follow the school system when it came to, after high school and everything, but who wanted to create something for myself and things like that. So we'd have these really good conversations. And the relationship that he had with his mom was very different because he was so, like, he knew what he wanted in his head, but
Hmm.
his mom didn't understand it, and then that would create a lot of friction and tension. right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'd have conversations with the mother and get to know what was going on in her life, right? She was also
Interesting.
divorced and things like that. And then, so I was getting two perspectives and I was able to understand both. I was able to identify, okay, I know why, the mother is acting like this or reacting this way. And I also know why, this kid is acting this way as well. And it was just so interesting to observe this almost from a different perspective and and almost try and pinpoint the why. Like
Yeah.
why is this happening? And it's a very delicate situation, but one thing is for sure, if there was some sort of communication where both parties met at common ground and just opened up and said, "Look, you know what? No judgment. This is a safe zone. This is a safe space. Let's have a discussion.
Hmm.
Let's work towards it so that we get better." And almost developing that sort of self-awareness and taking responsibility for the situation. Once that happens and that communication, that dialogue starts, then it opens up so much in the relationship in such a good
Yeah.
way,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Because it's easy to, like, for me, the silent treatment, for, I honestly, I can say I hate the silent treatment.
Yeah.
The reason why I hate it is because it doesn't lead to anything constructive and positive. It
Mm-mm.
is it is just like, it's completely removing yourself from the situation. Nothing changes, nothing gets better,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And
There's something when you say the silent treatment, there's something about that too, that um when you're in an argument, if it's kind of like getting combative or whatever, then it's
yeah,
okay. Or you can see that in
yeah,
this moment, having this conversation that I want to have is
yeah,
not going to work.
yeah.
That's a different kind of silence. Just say, hey, we need some
That's
space.
a different, yeah. That's like healthy. That's healthy
That's
silence.
healthy. And then
Yeah,
come back when everybody's calm,
yeah,
and then we can really open up and talk, and we're
yeah,
open to listen, because we don't listen when we're angry. We
yeah,
just, and we say things
yeah,
that we don't want to say when we're angry.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Do you I don't know if I spoke about this previously, but do you know who Jay Shetty is?
yes. Hmm.
So I might have mentioned this before, and if I have, it's fine. It's always good
He's
to
the
have a
guy that used to
reminder.
be a monk, right? He was a monk,
Exactly.
and now he's doing relationships and all that podcasting and stuff, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
one of the things that he mentions is that in a relationship, you have to learn how to fight. You don't learn how to love, but you learn how to fight.
Hmm.
And everyone fights in different ways. Some people get angry, some people are very vocal, some people go to the silent treatment, like they don't want to say anything,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And finding that common ground of just saying, let's say there's one person who needs to talk right away and the other person needs time, then agree, like, okay, look, let's give each other 30 minutes. In 30 minutes time, let's come back to this conversation after giving us that time to think about it, and we'll have that conversation. That could be like an arrangement, but I feel like that also applies, if there is any conflict when it comes to parents and teenagers, right? And this
Hmm.
can be initiated by the teenager as well, right? If the
Yeah.
teenager feels like, you know, that the conversation is not going anywhere and that it's doing more harm than good, then, one of the two just, can just step up and say, "Look, I don't think this conversation is healthy right now. Let's just take a moment, let's take a minute, and then we'll come back to this and then just have a proper conversation to make the situation better."
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know that I think I did talk about this before, but that the way sometimes teenagers and parents can get really angry, and especially
Mm.
when those emotions just go out of control, and you're just so like, and I used to yell at my mom. I used to say terrible things to her when I was
Oh,
about 17, because she wouldn't let me do stuff or whatever, and she just held back and she just waited. She didn't say anything. And we
yeah,
talk about it later. So she knew what to do, and amazing woman that she would not get mad at
yeah,
me for saying some terrible things to her. In fact, my dad told me, he goes, if I was living in that house and you were saying that to your mother, I would have, you know, like, well, Dad, you weren't. And Mom handled it beautifully.
yeah,
So, Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the key there is to have the conversation, right?
Yeah, and
At
then
the end of the
afterwards,
day,
she would have a conversation with me. She'd just let me
there
go
we go.
and just kind of, and then later she'd come back to me.
There we go. But at least the conversation, you know, took place, because it's easy as well to, for me, like when like talk about the silent treatment as a negative silent treatment, it's when silence is all that there is. There's no talk about it after, and then all of a sudden you kind of go back to the way it was. That doesn't improve anything, because
Mhm.
the cycle will repeat itself inevitably.
Most
And it's going to
definitely.
happen again and again and again and again. And that can then lead to very negative consequences when it comes to the relationship.
Hmm. Yeah.
So as long as the conversation is being had, that's the most important thing. And
Right.
want to do our best to make that conversation as healthy as possible.
Yeah. Without
Yeah.
judgment. And I think that without judgment is so key. Um,
Yeah.
sometimes we tend to, parents, I would say, sometimes
Yeah.
tend to think they're right,
Mm,
uh, and they can tell them what to do and it'll work. But
yeah.
it doesn't work that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, hear them out. Hear your child out. They're still your child,
Yeah.
teenagers. Hear them out
Yeah.
and and empathize with what they're going through and feel it and let them know you're there and don't tell them what to do
Mm,
unless they ask you.
yeah.
There are things too that they got to figure out on their own. But if they know you're on their side and they know you're there with them, and that
Yeah.
if they need something, they can come to you, that gives them some confidence and courage. And, they're backed up by somebody who believes in them. And that,
Yeah.
I think, is huge, huge.
It's huge. Yeah, it's you have a teammate, right?
Hmm.
You become a teammate, and it's you don't become the coach, you become the teammate. And
Yeah.
there's a very big difference there, because I'm a soccer player. So when I'm on the field, I'm not passing the ball to my coach. I'm passing the ball to my teammates,
Yeah.
right? And we're working together to then score the goal.
Hmm.
So it's an important piece to this. And I was just thinking, a good resource, if anyone who is watching this or listening to this, whether you are a teenager or a parent or like whoever, a really good resource. There's this beautiful, beautiful, soul, and her name is Lisa Nichols,
Oh, yes. I
and
love her.
she, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Mind Valley, but on Mind Valley, she has a course uh, on communication, and she takes you through this whole entire journey of communication and forgiveness and all of these really incredible things, and the importance of it, and how you can go about communicating and connecting with people. And I think that it could be such a huge game changer for this whole dynamic when it
Hmm.
comes to parents and teenagers, especially for those who don't know how to communicate, or how to communicate the right way.
Yeah.
This could be such a good tool for them to use. And free promo, but it's definitely worth it. It is
Yeah.
so worth it. It's helped me a lot, when it comes to my communication, not only with other people in general, but like my family, my sister, and just
Mhm.
relationship, everything. And I think that's a good place to start, if you want to invest
Yeah.
in it. I think you do have to pay for it, but if it is something that you are struggling with, then by all means, like, just go check it out. And if it seems like something that you'd want to do, then you know just make the investment, because it can help in so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And investing in yourself, you never lose.
there
No.
we go. Investing in yourself, and then it's like investing in yourself so that you can help your teen, which inevitably is like investing in your teen as well,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And then it even goes
That
beyond
might be a
that.
course they want to do together.
Maybe,
Do
yeah.
it parent and teen do it together. In fact,
Yeah.
book,
And
I think I've mentioned this book before, but this book here, Brainstorm, this is written by a
mm,
doctor who knows the science that's going inside their bodies, and then his children become teens and he wanted to learn more. So he really dove into it and he wrote this book so it's written for the parent and for the teen. So highly
Yeah.
recommend Brainstorm. Highly. So
Yeah.
interesting, because then you start to learn what is actually going on in there. And
Yeah.
he gives tips of how to work through things and talk to them or talk to each other, because it's for the teen
Yeah.
too. So, and it explains what's going on in their minds.
Yeah.
So yeah, so many great resources out there. Hopefully we're another one.
Yeah, and yeah, hopefully, hopefully people are getting value from this. I know it's the way this format that we've chosen to is very conversational. So we're just having conversations and sharing different stories and experiences. And the whole idea is to, for whoever is, consuming this content to relate to it, but also to just take whatever nuggets that you can from it,
Mhm.
and hopefully it can help you in some way.
Yeah. Because
But
honestly,
but yeah.
we haven't planned any of this. It's just Rehan and I have some sort of chemistry or something, even though, I could be your mom. Uh, but just when we get together, we just talk, 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 talk.
Yeah, and
Just-
it was like that from the beginning. Like when we first connected on Zoom, like over a year ago now, we were just having conversations and exploring all these different ideas.
Mhm.
And I think we realized that these conversations were actually very meaningful and powerful. Then we decided, okay, well, why not record them and share them with the world? Because we truly believe that they can help and
Yeah.
that people can relate to this.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, I think we don't plan these, but at the same time we plan to make it very conversational and
Yeah, exactly.
improv-esque. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And one of the things I think is, as a parent, you think you're the only one thinking this way, or I'm the only one having this problem, or, and maybe the teen probably thinks that too, oh,
yeah,
whatever. But no, we don't have it all together. We have to learn from each other, I think, and really like take in everything we can and decide how we're going to live and do our relationships. So I think we're not alone.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And I think such a great thing. This is a message that I actually want to share with any teenagers who are watching or listening, is that understand that your parents are doing the best with what they have. They they're doing it out of love, and maybe it doesn't seem like that right now, but they've been through their own stuff and they're going through their own stuff as well. So they're experiencing life at the same time. It's not because you're in their world now that life has stopped for them.
right.
And that just understand that they don't have it all figured out. They're learning as well as they're going along. And the two of you can like learn together, like
Hmm.
go through their journey together, be there for each other and support each other through this journey, because there's some cheesy quote probably about, alone you can win a battle, but then with an army you can win the war. I don't know, but I'm sure there's some sort of quote
Something.
out there, but it's true. It really is true,
Hmm.
you know? So just know that for any teenagers, just know that your parents are doing their best with what they have and what they know. They've been through their own stuff, they're going through their own stuff, and that's okay. You can both come together and learn, and discover life together and just fail
Yep.
and share wins and do all of it. Just,
Learn.
but, you know, yeah,
So the
we're all
funny
just
thing
at
is,
different
there's
stages
no
of life.
parents don't get a playbook. There's no, all of a sudden you have this baby and it's like, okay, what do I do? And
Yeah,
I- it used to be that it was more of a culture thing where you had generations of families together, and now they're not. Very rarely is it that way anymore. And so you're
yeah,
handed this baby, and then you have to figure it out. And you don't have your stuff together necessarily either. So, you know,
yeah,
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 we're just doing the best we can, and we love our
exactly.
children, and sometimes we do it poorly, sometimes we do something things not the right way. Sometimes we make mistakes. Many times we make mistakes.
Yeah.
But own up to them, talk, and keep that communication open. That is the most important thing. And
Yeah.
lots of love and lots of hugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it's the same thing with life, right? I mean, there's no playbook. There's no playbook when it comes to success or how to be the best anything in the world. There are people who might have done it and who you can follow and who can help guide you. But even replicating what they do doesn't necessarily guarantee your success. So it's almost like you have to learn as much as you can, but then at the end of the day, just go through your own journey. Like
And what
it's your life.
and what lights you up and what you're passionate about, and
Yeah.
because it's not going to be the same as anyone else. We're all
Yeah.
different. Every single
We're all
person on
different.
this planet, we have so much similarities. But yet we're
Yeah.
so different
Yeah.
in so many ways. So yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well,
All right.
I think today's might have been a bit longer than usual,
Yeah, I think it was.
um,
Yeah.
but I think this was a really good conversation. We did a little bit more of we had a bit more of a deeper conversation, which is good. I think as time goes on and these episodes come out, then we're gonna open up a lot more, I think,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. I
Um,
kind of see that direction.
and it's good too because I think the more we open up, the more people are gonna relate to our stories, Susan.
Mhm.
And I do think that that's where we're gonna be able to um give our best as well.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
for other people to benefit from. So yeah, thank you guys for watching and listening. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn the notifications on. This is what all the YouTuber people do
Oh,
and
okay.
influencers. So I'm just trying to so what can they say? So like, comment, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and share
And leave
this
a
with
review.
everyone you know. Sure, leave a review on Google reviews for Susan.
Yep. And share this with your friends who could probably get some value out of it too. So for
Yeah.
sure.
Or just, take what you've maybe heard and learned today and share it with them. You don't have to share them the whole entire thing, but if you want to, go ahead. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed and we'll see you
Next
next week.
time. Next
Yeah.
time. Yeah, and then those resources we'll put them in the show notes or whatever we have.
Yeah. Wherever we can. We'll probably put like a link in the description or something like that to
Yeah.
wherever we can. You'll
And
see it
ask us
somewhere.
questions. Ask questions. If there's something you want to ask us that we can maybe talk about, or you want to hear us have a detailed conversation on something specific, contact us. Email me, DM Rehan, and
Yeah.
we'll get on it.
Yeah. For
Okay.
sure. Alrighty, thank you. Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.